Hello, everybody. Welcome to the live, and also welcome to the Alchemist Inkwell, which is the podcast episode we are recording on this live. This recording of this live event is going to be posted for the podcast, the Alchemist Inkwell. No one's really on the live just yet, so this is mostly just for you podcast listeners / watchers. But yeah, that's what we're going to be doing today, and just hanging out and chatting. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Happy new moon. Yeah, on the day that we're doing this, it's a new moon today. It's a really powerful new moon, too. I really, really like the energy of it. It is very much the type of new moon where things that have literally never been seen on planet before are going to start, like, the ideas for them are going to start implanting and getting invented and those types of things, which is really exciting, honestly. I'm so happy to be existing underneath the condition of some, like, new, lovely energy and not just some, like, heavy energy. Even this energy is so productive in the sense that it's like really is truly a time where we can actually like do stuff. We can actually like use this energy to create things, to move things, whatever. And every time we've had productive energy for like the last like 4 or 5 months, it's always been like slapped on top of it with, the energy of like emotional stuff or hard stuff or challenging stuff at the same time. So our productivity goes into problem solving instead of just like having muse, inspiration, productive energy. So I'm really grateful that we finally get to have some of that coming into our space with this week, because I personally think we need it. How about you guys? How are you guys doing? Welcome. Hope your Monday's going well. Hope this new moon energy is going good for you. The other thing that's happening, man, I haven't been live in so long. And it's not for lack of trying. Thank you for all the hearts and love. They've changed so many things. I'm like looking at this live like, oh, wow, things have like totally shifted. It's not because I don't like going live. I actually really love going live, but it's just been like a very hectic couple months. And so it's very, very funny. Yeah, we desperately need that good energy, huh? Yeah, I know I need to go live more often. I appreciate you all. Hello, hi, welcome. The other thing is the energy this week, like later this week, is so bright and shiny. Since the very beginning of May, I've been looking at this last week of May with genuine excitement, because when I look at this energy, it is so freaking sparkly and shiny, and it's just this like burst of energy that happens later this week, and I'm so here for it. Like, can we please have that energy like come in? It's such a ball of energy. It almost feels like jittery, like an overdose of caffeine level of energy. Like it's a time when later this week, if you're feeling really floaty, like I cannot encourage you to ground your energy enough, genuinely. Like actually taking that time to do ground your energy, even if it's just simple, like putting your hand on your head for 30 seconds will ground your energy down very significantly. Or laying on the ground will do that, of course. Of course, there's also the energetic, like you can push your energy down or pull energy up. Those will be really helpful for grounding this later this week too. Just in general, in general, you want to ground your energy, but also later this week with the amount of energy we've got going on. Yeah, you should be feeling great. It's been really good. I'm so glad that you're doing great, Juno, and you haven't felt that so yucky anymore. Like, that's wonderful. Honestly, the energy is kind of turning around. Like, this later half of the year has much better energy than the first half did, so I'm really excited for that. Well, hello, KristaLyn. Hello. Yeah, I haven't done... Oh, hi, Katie. Yeah, I haven't done a lot of lives lately. Honestly, I think the last one I did was in like February or something. Stuff just got so busy. Yeah. How are you guys feeling with this energy, though? You doing good? How have things been going for you? The other thing that's important to note, I know I keep asking questions and answering them myself. Spirit guides have been sending me so many signs to reassure me that they're with me. Yay! Oh, I'm so glad. Yeah, the other thing just on that note that I was just going to bring up is spiritual stuff is like drastically increasing. It almost feels like, when I look at the energy of it, it feels like we're the good part, like the spiritual part of 2020, when everyone had like a huge spiritual awakening and kind of like came together in that sense. And it was the first time, at least in the amount of time that I've been doing this, which is basically, I've been a professional psychic since I was like 15, but I've been kind of in this field for even longer than that. It's the first time that it was like such a large scale awakening and connection and excitement from people about spirituality that stayed. And this is what this energy feels like coming into, is this whole new revival of magic and revival of connection and like excitement. I'm personally just like, I'm really excited to see how that shows up. Magic is becoming like more and more real kind of consistently. And I mean, I think eventually we're building to like pew, 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 like literally shooting fireballs out of our hands level of magic. Obviously we're not there yet. But it's really getting profound. So signs, pay attention to signs from your guides, pay attention to dreams, pay attention to like activations that you feel like you have. If your normal like channeling abilities start to look different or feel different, like that energy is really kicking off this weekend, which is cool. Dude, I've never had a claircog drop happen 20 minutes after I had it. It was bonkers. Yeah. Absolutely. The dreams have been so vivid lately too. And some of them, so we dream on two different levels. We dream on both body dreams. Body dreams are kind of like your classic dreams. You show up late to work, you don't have pants, you can't get in the building. Like those dreams where you're just kind of expressing emotions that have not been expressed throughout the day. Those are body dreams. Then we have soul dreams. And those soul dreams are the ones where we're like, something more is going on with this one. I saw a guide, or I feel like that was actually somewhere else, or this feels more like a memory than it feels like a dream, right? Those kind of deeper dreams. Those are those soul dreams. And when I've been looking at it, I'm like, okay, so both dream spaces are popping off in this last week. Like absolutely both dream spaces are just really like having a moment. Which is super interesting to see because like obviously we're expressing a lot of old emotions and then getting new drops at the same time. Yeah. My dreams have mostly been me not able to open my eyes. So bizarre. Ooh, okay. So one thing I recommend with that, especially with nighttime stuff, especially if you can't feel like you can't open your eyes in your dreams, I would ask what was like, pay attention to your other senses and be like, what was I smelling? What was I feeling? What was I sensing? What was I hearing? What did I just know? Like those types of things. Those are also your clair senses. So your clair senses are the senses that you use to psychically perceive energetic information, which is see, sense, hear, feel, know, taste, smell. There's 8 of them. And whenever you're in a dream space, it gives you a little bit of practice. You can also do this retroactively though. So if you're in the dream and you woke up and you're like, oh, it wasn't lucid enough to practice, that's okay. You can be like, okay, but what do I remember hearing? What do I remember seeing? What do I remember feeling? Like those types of things. And it's going to help you understand what you were actually picking up on, especially if you know the types of psychic senses that you are most aligned with. That will help in the dream space too. If you don't know, by the way, I do have a free exercise through the link in my bio if you want to figure out your natural clair senses. Everyone has them, but that'll give you a little guide on how to do that. Mm-hmm. Cool drop, KristaLyn. Just casual. Awesome. Yeah, first time catching her live. Welcome. What about sleep paralysis, dreaming when they are over you, like the grays? So sleep paralysis is a little bit of a different thing. There's a bunch of different reasons sleep paralysis can happen spiritually, to be totally honest. Sometimes it is a body dream and your body is still feeling stuck in the dream, even though your soul is kind of coming awake at the same time. And so you're kind of like an in-between zone and it's yucky. Sometimes it is spiritual stuff, kind of like the opposite of that, where your soul is not quite back from doing dreaming stuff, but your body's woken up. And again, that's like a mixing of consciousness that can happen. There's also some like case-by-case basis stuff that can happen too. Sometimes your guides are protecting you by keeping you in bed for a little bit longer. Sometimes things are coming through that need to be processed that way. Sometimes it's honestly like curse energy, which doesn't happen as often. I don't want you to be like, oh, I'm cursed. Like you're probably not. But curses do happen and negative things like that do happen. Sometimes things don't understand how fragile we are as people. And when they come to interact with us energetically, they accidentally fuck us up a little bit. I'm not even gonna lie. Like they accidentally like mess with us in a way that we don't want them to, but it happens like that. And sometimes sleep paralysis can present in that way too. So there's a bunch of different things that happen. It's literally like a case by case. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Weirdest dreams lately. Yep, absolutely. Past loved ones tend to be on like a soul level as far as dreaming space goes, where you're actually like chatting to a previous loved one who comes and visits you in those spaces. That again is more soul level dream stuff. How did you develop your magic grounded approach to, oh, I mixed up those words. I can read, I promise. How did you develop your grounded approach to magic/energy? I don't know anyone who does it like you. That is a really, really wonderful question, KG. Like, first of all, thank you for asking that. And also I feel honored. Thank you for seeing it as a grounded approach to magic. I really appreciate it. Honestly, it's because I am a stubborn ass rebellious person. Like that is like the grounded root reason of it. I have never been one for pomp and circumstance. I don't think it's valid or needed. First of all, just like I was raised Catholic, which is all pomp and circumstance, and ritual work and all these different things. But I've been psychic since the moment I could remember. I've always been able to see, sense, hear, feel, know other things. And there's kind of a longer story with that, but essentially I didn't think everyone else wasn't experiencing. I thought everyone was experiencing what I was. So when they were like, my friends in like elementary school were like, oh, you know, my imaginary friend is so cute and she likes to braid my hair, blah, blah, blah. I was like, really? Cause like mine is this old man who hangs out by the water tower and yells at me. Like, you're lucky your imaginary friend's so cool, because I was actually picking up on like different things all over, and they weren't just for me. There were ghosts and spirits and all sorts of stuff. And so I thought it was normal. When I finally figured out, like, maybe not everyone else is seeing this as the way I am, tried to bring it up to my mom. My mom is a wonderful, precious, amazing woman. But she just didn't know what to say to me. So she was like, oh, okay, go outside. I was like 8. So I'm sure I didn't explain it great. And then I tried to kind of suppress it for a really long time. So I had more of a relationship of fear with the other side with psychic stuff than I did with, like in a positive way. So when I finally in my early 20s really started to be like, I don't want to be scared of this anymore. I was still doing readings despite being afraid of it. I was playing with Ouija boards and tarot and all sorts of different stuff, in like a really concrete way, and still being able to see things. And it was just freaking me out. When I started diving into it, I really rejected the idea of a lot of the New Age spirituality stuff, which is like all love and light, and kind of just Christianity rebranded. And then I also really rejected this idea that you have to do like all this shadow work, and like you have to get through all of these like layers to be initiated into things in order to understand them. I was like, I'm going to make it easy and fun, because if it's not easy and fun, 1, I'm not going to do it, and 2, it makes no sense, because the more easy and the more flow and more excited you are, the more childlike you are, and that's when everyone is the most open. So I tried to lean in that way with it and developed it that significantly in that way, because I was like, well, if I want to get more childlike, it's not going to be through following rules. And the root of it is through like all these years of channeling, there really is no rules. There's things that I recommend, there's things that I've learned the hard way, but ultimately with spirituality and things, there's not rules you have to follow. There's not this set level of doctrine. We like rules because it makes us feel safe and comfortable, but energetically there's a lot of stuff out there that you can do and process and understand and connect with that is not inherently like governed by some rules that we're trying to figure out. And so I come at it with really grounded, because if we're really grounded, then the more we get to grow and have magic there. So yeah. That was kind of a long-winded answer, but fabulous question. Thank you for asking. I really appreciate it. How do you start having more fun in my spiritual journey? I often get frustrated. Ooh, okay. So treating it like a creative project is honestly really, really fun. So I recommend, if you're getting frustrated with your spiritual journey stuff, if you're just like, oh, nothing's working, I'm so frustrated, throwing your head against the wall, try new things, try different things, shaking that up. That doesn't mean just with your spiritual stuff though. Try one new thing every day or one new thing every week. That's going to help. Excuse me, motorcycle. That's going to help you really remember that this stuff can be fun. Your life can be new. You can have new stuff kind of come in. The light is really weird in here. Sorry if things keep flashing. I don't know if it's just my phone or you guys are seeing that too. But anyway, so trying those new things and embracing that is going to be really fun. The other thing I recommend is go back. When was the first time that you really believed in magic or got really intrigued by the paranormal or really excited about these spiritual things? Try to think back to when one of the first times was. What were you doing? What sparked your interest? Was it reading the Chronicles of Narnia? Was it watching Ferngully? Was it watching Ghost Adventures? Did you have a spooky experience? What was that thing? And then try to do something like that. Something that feels that same way to revive some of your excitement for this and the why you're doing this in the first place. The other thing I recommend doing, which I find really fun, is I always recommend that if I'm ever feeling disconnected from my own guides, or if anyone's struggling with like making it fun in general, invite your guides to do like a spiritual scavenger hunt for you. Like every day be like, hey, send me something magical today. I want to be excited, which isn't about working at your spirituality. It's about just receiving it from the universe, which you're innately a spiritual person. You innately have these gifts. We're just working to remember them now that we're down here and figure out how to use them now that we're down here. So that's a really fun and easy way to access it as well. I'll also do silly things like invite my guides to watch TV with me at night and then ask their opinions and let them share that with me, which doesn't feel like spiritual development as much as it just feels like understanding and hanging out with spiritual friends and figuring out how I understand their energy. Yeah. Good. I'm glad you guys like those ideas. I really appreciate it. Also, this live, I'm going to be posting to my podcast for those of you just joining. I'm going to be posting this as my podcast episode for this week. Usually Krista and I get together, and this week it just didn't work out that way in order to do our podcast. So anyway, if you want to listen to this again, it will be posted as an Alchemist Inkwell episode. For those of you who listen to my podcast, so glad you're here. If you don't listen, you should. It's super great. How do you connect with your guides? Oh, I wanted that question. Where'd it go? Okay. How do you connect with your guides? I see numbers, but I don't know what they mean. So there's a million different ways to connect with your spirit guides. The first thing you want to do is remember or figure out how you actually naturally perceive energetic information. Those are your clair senses. And then you just want to pay attention to the one that's strongest for you. So maybe you just know that they're there, or maybe you see energy, or maybe you hear energy, either with, see with your mind's eye or hear with your mind's ear. Maybe you physically feel energy, or emotionally feel energy. There's a ton of different ways that you can do it. And to figure that out, I do have a free exercise in my bio, but also just whatever your natural strongest senses are, you probably sense energetic information that way too. It can go more nuanced than that, but that's just a simple breakdown. So if you're really good at your sense of smell, you might smell energetic information. If you have a very vivid imagination where you see a lot of things in your smell energetic information. I said that correctly. Hold on. I was like, did I trample over that? But if you have a very vivid imagination and you see a lot of things in your mind's eye, you probably have some clairvoyance where you can see stuff. If you ever just known something out of nowhere, that's claircognizance. Those things. So that's how you can figure out first how you're going to perceive the energetic information. Then I recommend treating your guides like you're making a new friend. Instead of thinking that there's this thing outside of you and you really want to connect with them, start asking them random questions throughout the day and seeing what pops in your head first, or what you see first, or what you hear first, or what you smell first, right? So for example, I will ask what should I wear today? What's your favorite color? Should I go to the store today or tomorrow? Do you like this, bracelet I'm wearing? Like, just little nothing. What does it look like where you are right now? Little nothing questions. The reason for this is our human brain really, really likes to filter out information that it deems too much, right? Too scary. So if we're like, what is the meaning of life? What is my purpose? We're asking our guides that. Our human brain's like, yo, we don't know what that is. Danger. So it's harder for us to understand and trust the answer. But if you're asking something what its favorite color is, our brain's like, yeah, whatever. Like, that's fine. I can let that information in a little bit easier. So when you ask that and let that information in a little bit easier, it's a lot easier to get those pings. And then those can start to be validated. You can start to trust and lean in on those more. With all spirituality stuff forever, absolutely. Always ask for validation. Blind trust is never a requirement with this, ever. So it doesn't matter if you think a deity told you, a spirit guide told you, your deceased loved one told you, whatever it is, you can always ask for validation before you act on it. So even if you're like, okay, I asked them what their favorite color is and they said soup and I don't know what that means, but that's the first thing I picked up on. Ask them for validation. Be like, what does that mean? What are you trying to tell me about the soup? And maybe later that day, someone walks up and they're wearing a shirt with soup on it and they give you a message, right? So that is an easy way to start that relationship, is to treat it like any other relationship, because it is. They're whole other beings. Yeah, your musical sound bites of the world. Mm-hmm. Are spirit guides male or female? Ooh. Or do they appear as they need for us to accept them? The answer is very complicated on that, because there is no gender binary in most of the universe. That is a very significant construct of down here. Oftentimes they will present as male and female, or they will present as more divine feminine or divine masculine, depending upon how they want to present. That does help us perceive them. Sometimes they also have no gender, or they're non-binary, or they have multiple genders, or their gender is outside of the binaries that we have created down here. So there's a lot of different things there. I will typically use they, them in a reading for guides, unless they're very clearly specifying otherwise, because I don't pretend to know all the details of the intricacies of the societies or things that they've come from, or the way that they deem their own gender. I will say, though, typically they will show up in ways that we can understand them down here, because that is the way that they're going to get the most productive answers and connection out of us. That is a fabulous question, by the way. What is my current favorite deck or divination tool? Amazing question. So my all-time favorite deck, where is it actually? Here it is. My all-time favorite deck is this deck. It will always be my favorite. It's backwards on here, but it's the Mythic Oracle by Carissa. I love this deck. It's also one of my oldest ones. It's a Hellenic deity deck. So all the Hellenic deities in here, I work really closely with Apollo and Hermes. Not necessarily by choice, but he is also someone I work very closely with. I just really am drawn to this pantheon. So I love this deck. I always use this deck. I've also been a huge fan of the Labyrinthos app recently, though. It's a learn to read tarot sort of app, but they do really cool readings. Like the way that they have it set up is really lovely to do like digital readings. And I do it before I go to bed so that I don't just doom scroll before I go to bed. I'll read fan fiction and then I'll do a Labyrinthos reading on my phone. The reason I do it on my phone is I can jot down what I think is going to happen. I always go to bed after after midnight. So it's a reference here. I'll jot down what I think is going to happen the next day with the reading, like in the journal section of the Labyrinthos app. And then at night, the next night, when I go to pull the cards for the next day, I'll look back at that journal entry and see how it went and like write down the way that it happened. Throughout the day. I just do it in the app. You can do it just personally too. But that I highly recommend as well. What else have I been using a lot lately? I've actually been doing a lot more of nature divination lately. So nature divination is essentially if I have a question that like my guides aren't giving me guidance on, or I just want to kind of ask the universe and kind of riff back and forth, I'll go on a walk and I'll think that question with intention, and I will look around as I'm on the walk for symbols and signs or messages that are coming from nature to me. It could be a bird crossing my path, or I could look up in the sky and see a shape in the clouds. It could be a gust of wind every time I ask the question, and then I'm like, okay, this is feeling very aligned, and I kind of channel in the meanings from there. So it's not like a specific divination tool, but it's a pretty powerful one that everyone has access to. Yeah. Do I do mentorships? I do actually do mentorships. I have a program called Train With Me, and it's actually opening for applications like later this week. So yeah, it is a 4-month-long mentorship program where I mentor everybody twice a week. And yeah, the Train With Me program, it is about to be open for applications once again. It is my favorite program. I love it. It's so much fun because we go really, really deep and you learn all sorts of things, like everything from like astral projection to energy healing to channeling your guides to, I mean, we do everything, to understanding realms, to talking to the fairies, like all the things are in there. So yeah. Am I into astrology too? I am not, but my co-host on the podcast where this live recording is actually going to be posted is an astrological expert. They're amazing. Their name is KristaLyn. And I highly recommend. Their handle on here is KristaLyn Sophia, I believe, is their handle on here. If not, you can just look. I've tagged them all over everything here, or listen to our podcast, The Alchemist Inkwell, and you can find them on there as well. They are the best astrologer I've ever worked with, ever. And also a very dear friend of mine. I have not seen Sinners. I don't even really know what that is. Oh my goodness. Someone asked, I was trying to read the question that jumped away. Where did it go? Is there a way to tell if you're really connecting to a guide or another spirit that's tapped in? So one, always ask for validation, always ask for validation and reassurance. There we go. Got to the word. I don't know about you guys. It's felt like Mercury retrograde with how much my words have been getting messy and how much my technology has been like messing up. It's driving me crazy. I don't like it. If it could not keep doing that, that would be fantastic because we're not in Mercury retrograde and I don't want bonus Mercury time. From everything I've channeled, by the way, it's felt because I was told it was because of solar storm type of energy that this is feeling this way. And then we had that solar storm like last Monday and I was like, okay, cool, validation of that. But it is annoying. It's still annoying technology stuff. Anyway, to know if it's actually your guide talking to you or another spirit, one, I always recommend asking for validation from them, validating their identity, validating that they're talking to you, or ask your guides just in general for validation that this is who you're speaking to. You can also do a card pull. You can also do some muscle testing. I have some videos on how to do that on my page if you want to look it up. You can also do like a pendulum thing to double check, gut check. The other thing I recommend doing though is creating something that for you is a signal that you're speaking to a guide, and kind of applying like an energy around it where it's only a guide will trigger that. For example, when my guides really want to get my attention, if I'm not paying attention, I get pressure right here in my forehead, like a pressure sensation. That's how I know specifically it's one of my guides trying to come at me to get my attention. I'm like, okay, I have this sensation. Only my guides can use that sensation. I know I'm speaking to a guide. Even if I didn't know who they were, I would still install like, this is a sensation you can do. I also have very specific rooms in my brain, which I have divided energy into. So when I open the guide door, essentially I'm tuning myself to the frequency of my spirit guides talking to me through this room, and I know it's them coming through because that's the frequency I tune to. So for you, if you want to create, okay, I want to talk to my guides, it can be a door you open or a switch you turn on and you turn the other switches off for other things, or a knob where you're like, okay, turning to guide frequency, and it's only that bond you share with you and your guides allowing that space to come in. There's nuance to that, there's complications to that, but that is an easy way to like help yourself feel more confident that you're speaking with your guides. And then of course, always ask for additional validation afterwards. Yeah. Oh, hi, Sarah. Hi, Greg. Hello. I'm not actually doing psychic messages from loved ones or anything like that during these lives. I answer questions for you about like your spiritual journey and like that type of thing, but I don't do readings on live. Good question though. Any historical medium stories that you've gotten? Oh my gosh. I have so many historical medium stories about all sorts of stuff. What is some good ones lately? Recently I actually went to the Met. Recently I went to the Met with my daughters. We went on a very quick turnaround trip to New York. This isn't so much, it's kind of historical mediumship. And I walked in and I was like, okay, I'm going to go on like a hunt to try to find the different objects in here that are cursed or have yucky energy kind of attached to them, or channel in and kind of talk to those objects as we go to get some like historical channeling through that. So we were walking around. First of all, the Met is huge. We did not have a ton of time. So we focused obviously, and of course, on the like Hellenic side of things and the Egyptian hall, and then a little bit into the medieval hall at the back. The medieval hall, by the way, had the most cursed stuff. Leave it to the church, the time of the church, to curse the most things. To be straight up and honest. I'm like we're in like the Egyptian section, and I've been to Egypt multiple times in the last couple of years, and I'm like, okay, like knowing a lot of information, feeling this, feeling that. There's certain things I'm like, ooh, that thing has kind of yucky energy to it, whatever. And then we just walk into the medieval section, and I was like, that has yucky energy. There's a thing trapped in that. Don't touch that over there. Like, it was like really funny, the amount of it. One thing I did find very interesting, though, is there's the temple that's inside of the Met. Like literally they have an ancient Egyptian temple that was transported there and put there. It's really interesting because when it comes to temple energy in general, temples were created crafted where they're located on purpose, like very much on purpose, because that's where ley lines meet up. That's where energy centers are. Like it's aligned with the sky. Like they have a lot of intention there. So when you take it and move it, the energy gets really weird. Really weird, really quick as far as with the temple goes. So it kind of makes the vibes just slightly off. And you can really feel like there was a guardian spirit still attached to that temple. And I was like, oh, hello, you're still here. Like, are you good? And they were like content because people now still come to the temple. Otherwise they would have been buried in sand, which I guess they really didn't want. So I was like, okay, that's super interesting. But something drew me over to this very specific sarcophagus in the corner of the temple room. And I was like, well, this is very interesting. It's just a sarcophagus. There's tons of them everywhere. And I don't mean to say just in like a negative like connotation, but like there's a lot, right? There's a lot of them. I'm like, okay, and this was just random over in the corner, but we were really pulled over there. And so I started tapping in and I was like, this feels really important. Like there's just such important energy around this. I can see where it was buried. Like the energy of this feels so like important. I don't know why it's just kind of shoved over here in a corner. And I went and I looked at the little like marquee thing on next to the sarcophagus. And it said, this sarcophagus, on the top of it, depicts the first ever depiction of the earth as round. And I was like, oh, so it is super important. And like getting up on my tippy toes to look at the top of this sarcophagus, it does. It has Nut, the sky goddess above, and Geb, the earth goddess below, and then the circle of humans in the earth as round. And I was like, okay, thank you, Channeled History, for pulling that in and like flagging that this is an important historical thing. So yeah, recently that was one of my bigger ones. I mean, I have been doing a ton. I've been working with Lacusta a lot lately. News on that book coming soon, hopefully. So fingers crossed there. Yeah, very exciting. Hello, Theron. Hello. But yeah, so Channeled History stuff all the time. I love it so much. Lacusta news coming soon. For those of you who don't know, I have written it's a historical fantasy about a woman named Lacusta who lived in ancient Rome. She was a poisoner. I've channeled her in and actually gotten her story. She used to be a druid, and so there's a lot of magic involved and a lot of how she poisoned people. She literally poisoned emperors. Like the reason we laugh about poisoned mushrooms, poisoning emperors, is because she poisoned an emperor with mushrooms. Like she was a wild, beautiful person. And yeah, hopefully I have news on that very soon, but stay tuned. And if you really want to read that book, definitely comment on a bunch of videos and stuff for me about how much you want to read it. It would definitely help with things. Yeah, but I'm very excited about it. Wonderful. Oh, thank you, Shadow. I appreciate it. Thank you. By the way, Shadow is my daughter's name. I didn't just call somebody a Shadow, just for like reference on that one. She just brought me a drink. Hello. Oh my gosh. Welcome everybody to the live. I'm so happy you guys are here. I need to do more of these. I really love going live. I really do. But it's been a while since I've done it. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad you guys. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Has time felt like it's stretched for you? Last week felt like a month. Time is super weird right now. Time and memory are both having a moment. I don't know if you guys have been noticing this as well, but like memory stuff has been very, very weird, very mutable, very slippy for a lot of people. I'm also having memory stuff come up where I'm like, I remembered that differently, but okay, or I just totally forgot what that is. So just so you know, memory has also been super weird. So if you're feeling that too, but time and memory have been super funky lately. Time, I encourage all of you to think of time as an element and not as a measurement of distance, because it's going to help you understand the way time is flowing a little bit more. Yeah, things are very weird right now. I'm so glad I'm back on your For You page. Welcome. But if you think of time as an element, just like air or water or fire, right? If it's like a tangible thing like that, then it helps you understand how sometimes you have more of it and sometimes you have less of it based on elemental stuff. It'll also help fix some of your limiting beliefs and like anger you have at time, to be totally honest, because we're all angry at time in certain ways because time is hard. It'll also help fix some of your limiting beliefs and like anger you have at time, to be totally honest, because we're all angry at time in certain ways because time is hard to navigate down here. So if you want more time, you can start to work on pulling in the energy of more time. And it could be a simple visualization of going and visualizing time being a substance and going and scooping a cup of it out and pouring it over your head. Like that is as simple as it can be. It takes practice, don't get me wrong, but it can be that simple. But you can bring that in. Or if you like need less time, if something's really boring and need to shrink that, like push some of the time away, give some of the time out, store it for later, but pull from it, and it can kind of change. The other thing that's happening though, collective also has some ability to navigate this time element, right? It's the same way we have wildfires versus like a little candle flame. We can control some candle flame, but sometimes a wildfire comes. We're kind of in a wildfire of time at the moment where energy is kind of pulsing back and forth. We're kind of in an ebb and flow, and time is responding in kind to that as well. So yeah, I'm interested to unplug time-related things for a day. Yep. You interested to unplug from time-related things today? You definitely can do that. Taking that and just moving it kind of around. It's very interesting once you start thinking of time as an element, because it is, things change. The perspective shift that comes in with that and the ability to feel empowered in the manipulation of that time is really cool. Really, really cool. But yeah, just to validate that for all of you, it has been real weird lately, time-wise and memory-wise. Both of them have just been funky. Mm-hmm. Oh, great questions. Oh, nope. Stop. Don't do that phone. Tech has been so weird too. I'm seriously so annoyed about it. I've been so annoyed about the tech blips and things along those lines. It's been just so annoying. Have I worked with Aries the deity? The reason that I laugh. Okay, listen. I have spoken to Aries the deity many times. Him and I do not fucking like each other at all. So like that's why I giggle. I'm like, yeah. I've fought with Aries the deity. We don't like each other. We just don't. He'll come in and give me messages if I'm like in a reading and he comes through for somebody. He'll give me messages for that, but he usually ends it with like a fuck you and then leaves. He and I we don't like each other. Honestly, what's the beef? It's multi-life level beef. It's higher self level beef, because the moment he came into my space, the very first time I ever interacted with him, ever channeled him, I looked at him and I was like, oh, I fucking hate you. Like I don't like you. I don't really know why, but in my soul, I do not like you. And he's like, yeah, same. Same. So I've worked on it and channeled with it of like, why the heck that is. The root of it is I think in higher self form, we've just screwed each other over multiple times. I think he's a pompous asshole a lot of the time, and he thinks I'm annoying. So like, that's fine. We don't have to work together. I don't think you have to not work with him. I think he can be really beneficial to the people he likes. He and I just have too long of a history of hating each other to get over that hump. Like, Aries, like the Greek god. Yeah. I don't like him. Also, one time I met someone who was like an emanation of him, like, that's where their higher self, like your higher self is this. And then we take a little chunk of that higher self and like incarnate down here. They had like a chunk of him basically, soul energy wise. And they actually made me nauseous. And I was like, what is with this? This energy is so weird. And we also like, they didn't like me either. They were already like mean mugging me. It was really weird. I was like, why am I nauseous though? And then when I channeled in and like, basically my guides were like, well, it's because of this. I was like, oh, great. So, yeah, interdimensional beef straight up. Mm-hmm. I don't like him. He doesn't like me either. It's just how it is with us. It's fine. He's the only one where, he's the only deity that I like straight up dislike to that level, to be totally honest. I've talked to a lot of different deities. He's the only one that I'm like, we don't get along. The Norse pantheon, specifically like the Aesir part of the Norse pantheon, are very indifferent towards me. Every time I've tried to work with them, they're kind of just like, no, like we don't have anything for you. They're just not the one that I was, they're not the ones I'm supposed to be working with. I've been channeling in some history with that too, except for Ratatoskr, the world tree squirrel. Ratatoskr, he talks to me, but he mostly just tells me gossip. That's about it, because he's a squirrel. Yeah. Have I talked to Athena? I have talked to Athena many times. I've actually, I've been to the Acropolis, so in the Parthenon, and actually talked to her and channeled her there too. So yeah, Athena is a wonderful energy. Her and I get along great. She's really cool. A lot of the feminine deities are having a moment right now. One thing to note on deity work, just to share this with you guys too, we base our understanding of deities off of the myths that have survived. There were a lot more deities that existed and walked around on planet during the times that the myths were written. Sorry, I don't know what all these fast cars are going by my house for. They're all being loud, so I apologize if you guys can hear that. But if you ever feel like you're picking up on a deity and you can't seem to figure out who they are, sometimes it's because we don't have their myth record anymore. Maybe they came from a culture that didn't write a lot of things down. A lot of the myths that we currently have were written down by men. A lot of them were written down by Christian men, especially if we're looking at more like Northern European style stuff, whether that is like Norse myths or Celtic myths, those types of things. They were written down through the filter of whoever wrote them down, because the culture passed them orally and then someone noted them down. So we're not getting like all the descriptions of all the different deities that exists out there. So just know that if you ever pick up on somebody and you're like, there's a deity in my space, they're sending me all these things, but I don't have a resonance of a myth to connect them to, they're not feeling super connective, it's probably because maybe they don't have surviving myths, but that doesn't make them any less a deity. So it's really helpful to actually like ask them, like, what's your story? What do you help with? That sort of thing, if you're not getting kind of the classic resources to support you. It's been coming up a lot lately, which is why I bring it up. Yeah. What are my thoughts on some of the Greek mythology retellings that have been coming out? Okay, so typically when I see a retelling of something, whether it's a historical event or a mythology thing, I will ask the deities like what they think. Because here's the thing, a lot of them, even if it's not 100% how it happened, really like it. Like the Song of Achilles and Circe, anything by Madeline Miller is super deity approved, like super deity approved. They're all about it. They think it's super great. Some of them have issues with like their representation in it. For example, Hermes is real upset that he doesn't have as hot of actors as, basically he thinks Tom Hiddleston is hot. Loki gets the hot actor, and the most recent actor he got was Lin-Manuel Miranda. Weird that that's come up twice on this live, actually. And he was pretty ticked off about that, but it was more about appearance and less about like actual storyline. But honestly, a lot of the myth retellings are really, really good. There's some that I dislike. There's some that like on a personal level, I'm like, ooh, I don't think this represents a lot. For example, what was that news show? Which this isn't book or show form, whatever. Chaos. That show Chaos, really rejected that one. That one did not feel good energetically. It was not a good representation. Like the premise could have been really cool, but the energy just felt super off. And also it was not deity approved. They were also not pleased with it. The couple ones that I talked to about it. But I think I love the fact that there is a lot of myth retellings from a lot of different cultures coming up right now. I think it's a really powerful thing to connect with history and to connect and bring these deities back to the forefront. Like deities are having a moment, and I'm totally here for the moment that they're having. Yeah, I'm not surprised it didn't get renewed, honestly, because the energy was real off. I would love actors to audition for deities, like in front of the deities. Let the deities pick who plays them. Yeah, that would be really cool. I've been trying to connect with Hecate. Hecate's awesome. I will also, what I would recommend is if you're trying to connect with Hecate and you're not getting a lot of response, there's a lot of other deities that handle similar things to Hecate. Oh, hello. Thank you. And sometimes the deities that you associate it with one that's like the closest, and you're like, oh, Hecate, she's really having a moment right now. She's very popular amongst people. So it's like, okay, I've been seeing a lot of crossroads, and I've been feeling a lot of magic. I've been being called to dive into like work with a magic deity. Cool. Like I feel like it might be her. There's other magic deities too. So if for some reason you're not getting a lot of connection back from a specific deity, try to like pivot and see if there's another deity that handles those types of things, maybe even from a different pantheon, depending upon the signs you're getting, and see if that deity specifically, a different one can come in for you a little bit easier, because that could be what you're getting steered towards. Annabelle is super having a moment. I love it for her, honestly. Let a girl work. Let her do her work. I'm so here for that. Would it be better to work with guides or deities first? So in my personal opinion, working with your spirit guides is a super powerful way to not only develop your spiritual abilities to live a more spiritual life, but also have the support that we're needing in this time and place. What spirit guides help with in general, just to give like a little brief rundown of that, when we incarnate, we decide on some key things that we're going to do in the life that we're going to have, whether it's here on this planet or a different realm or a different planet, whatever it is. We're like, hey, these are some key things that are going to happen. It could be 25 plot points. It could be 7 plot points. It could be 150, depending upon whatever journey you're choosing to have. And you kind of plot those out of like, okay, these are things that I need to do. But there's always going to be space in between those that you're still living, right? Like not every moment of every story is a plot point. So you need support and help to get from one plot point to the next. That's where spirit guides come in. Spirit guides are beings you typically either know in advance or that were assigned to you because they're a specialist in something, or you go to because you know they're a specialist in something, and you ask for their help to like help you navigate this life that we're in currently, right? So your guide team knows you very, very well. They're here for you to support you, and you already have a pre-designed kind of contract with them before you came down. So your guides are going to be really here, dedicated, and wanting to communicate with you in a lot of ways. So it's a lot easier to speak with your guides oftentimes than it is to speak with deities, etc., because they're literally more attuned to your energy. They're more present. They're going to try more things because they're that close. That being said, you can always ask your guides for more, because oftentimes they don't understand how much we don't know. They forget like what it's like to take the amnesia pill and come down here. So occasionally, they'll be like, oh no, she figured it out. I sent her a feather. And it's like, no, I most certainly did not figure it out. I need more. I don't know what that feather means. Can I please have more context? So I always encourage everyone to lean in and talk to their spirit guides first. It can lead you to other things and other things and other things, but it's really powerful part of being a spiritual person to have that support, and it also helps you develop a little bit more as well. Yeah, cool. Well, thank you guys. So sweet. There was a question, then it keeps moving, and I scroll down and it keeps moving. Okay. Well, I keep losing it. That's so okay. Oh, thank you guys for joining the live. Welcome. This live is also going to be uploaded as an episode of my podcast this week too. So if anyone wants the replay of the live, that podcast is called The Alchemists Inkwell. And I would love for you guys to check it out. But this is this week's episode. Usually we don't do lives as episodes, by the way. This is a more unique situation. How can I sift through... Where did it go? How would you sift through contradictory messages from your guides? So one, if you ever get contradicting messages from your guides, dude, why is this happening? I live on a quiet street. Everybody pause. We'll let it go. Go on. Okay. Move on your way. There we go. I live on such a quiet street. I'm so sorry for everyone listening. Like, what was that? It's just a raging truck. My God. Anyway. If you're getting contradictory messages from two different guides, I would ask them, be like, hey, I don't know which way to go and I need clarity. Like, I need to get some clarity coming in. Can we please have some clarity here? And actually ask them for the clarity that you're needing. Specify, like, I need clarity on this thing, whatever that thing is. And I need it before I go to bed on Saturday. And even if you don't get a specific message, like, let that clarity come in and then re-channel in and re-ask your guides for more information on it. Do another card pull. Also, sometimes what they might be doing is showing you could go either way, feel out which way feels best for you, and helping you understand your own alignment. You also don't need to get individual opinions from each guide. You can also ask the guide that specializes in the specific thing that you're trying to get help with, and they can give you more concrete information. Great question. Do I think Annabelle started the plantation fire? I think Annabelle probably contributed to the increased spiritual presence in the area and may have been an energy source from which the beings around that plantation that desired it to burn could pull off of. I don't know if she started it. I do think there was a series of a lot of events that have occurred every place she's gone. I also think that, the person who owned the doll had said never to move said doll, and then they did, and then shit happens, is not a coincidence. Do I think she started it though? No, I think she probably acted as a spiritual battery for other things to pop off. Annabelle is the cursed doll that's currently making a tour. Just do a little TikTok search Annabelle and you'll get all of the tea. It's plethora. Yeah. Oh, hi Tia. I love you too. That's so sweet. Hi, welcome, Meg. Welcome. But yeah, I don't know if Annabelle started it. I will say when something has that much spiritual energy around it, it can act like a battery source or have ripples in the energy of the places that it goes. And that goes for anything, right? Like even when the Pope passed away and we got a new Pope, even if you're not Catholic, it created like a spiritual ripple energy because it was such a heavy spiritual thing. So even though it might not affect you on a personal level, the energy of that also changed some stuff. So yeah. Oh, thank you for saying my eyes are so pretty. That is so kind. Why would they take a cursed doll on tour? Honestly, I don't know. It's a wild, it's a wild thing to do in this 2025 bingo. We're all in. Yeah. Can you talk about clairaudience? I can talk about clairaudience. Clairaudience is the hearing of energetic information. It's when you hear energy information via either your internal ear or with your physical ears. Both are just as valid. You don't need to try to work towards hearing it with your physical ears. If you get a lot of inner ear hearing, that is perfectly fine. And that sense can be applied to any psychic gift. So it's a sense, not a gift, right? So you could hear your past loved ones talking. You could hear information about past lives. You could hear your spirit guides. Like you can hear all of the different things, right? With clairaudience, the thing with that is when you're hearing it, typically there's something different. Sometimes it'll typically start out in your voice because we have to get our human brain to adjust to the magic stuff that's happening. So we'll have your voice a little bit, but there'll be a different cadence, a different tone, a different word choice. Something about it will be a little bit different. It also tends to come kind of out of nowhere. It's like, poof, here's this sound, poof, whatever it is. And oftentimes it will be validated by an external sound, even if you didn't hear it externally. So if you had it inner hearing, an external sound will happen. Your phone will go off, a bell will ring, a stupid ass truck will rev its ass up the street. Whatever that is. Also, a lot of times with clairaudience, the sounds, the speaking kind of comes from back here forward towards the front of your head. When we're thinking to ourselves, we're kind of sitting up here in our own thoughts a lot of the time. With the clairaudience, it's like coming from a different place, coming to the forward to be perceived. Yeah. I hear different language when I'm in the alpha state. Yeah, so that's actually fairly common when you are in different states or different brainwaves of consciousness, hearing and thinking in different languages, especially light languages. I hate that term, but essentially just think of it as magical language, right? Can start to come in where you don't necessarily know the definition of every word, but you're getting the gist of what it's doing. That happens. For me, it happens anytime I have ever done a hallucinogen. I will think in an entirely different language for the entire time. But it can also happen in alpha waves, beta waves, etc. Beta waves, theta waves, etc. There we go. Mm-hmm. What clair is it when you speak what people are thinking out loud? People tell me to do it often. So that's not specifically a clair. That is actually a gift, right? It depends on how are you receiving that information of what they're thinking. Do you just know it? Do you just feel aligned with saying it? That's probably a claircognizance thing. If you hear it in your head first and then say it out loud, that's clairaudience. If you see images of what they're about to say and then you say that out loud, that's clairvoyance. If you physically feel the energy of what they're about to say out loud, translate it and say it out your mouth, that's clairsentience. So there's more clairs too, but just for example, so it's not actually a clair there. It's how you perceive the information, which dictates how, what clair it is. But as far as the actual gift that is essentially telepathy, for lack of a better term, where you're just like mind reading basically without necessarily knowing that. The other thing it also might be picking up on, you might actually be channeling their guides, and their guides might be giving you that information for you to say out loud. Depends. Or potentially even future sight too, where you're channeling the future of what they're going to say and then you say that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The just knowing sense is claircognizance. Yeah. Tips of what is ADHD versus what is actually spiritual downloads, or any tips. Okay, so first of all, I am neurodivergent, so I completely understand. I have ADHD as well as CPTSD, which both affect me very deeply in that sense. However, the things with spiritual stuff, so ADHD stuff coming in, again, blind trust is not required. Ask for validation and ask if it can go deeper. If you get a question or a message in your head, ask it a question. Go why? Journal about it. Pull out some cards. See if it goes deeper. Ask your guides for that continued validation. The big thing with this is you're not doing it alone. And it can be really helpful if you have a plan for when you have a ping. Obviously, sometimes that can't happen. You're at the grocery store, whatever, but hold on to it for later. I always recommend jotting it down. If it feels even minorly like a ping, write it down and be like, okay, I'm not going to do anything about this until this is validated. The writing it down really reassures your brain, like, hey, we do actually like letting this energy in. Then if it gets validated, you have a record of it. If it doesn't get validated, whatever, you can just erase it and go on with your day. But that's going to really, really help with a lot of that. The other thing is I will do is like, okay, I need to do some active meditation. So if I get a ping and I'm washing the dishes, I'm like, okay, well, I am in kind of an active meditation state. Chances are good I'm getting a sort of drop here. What am I doing at this moment where I'm getting this drop? If it's coming in when you're trying to do something like an active meditation, chances are good that you're at least somewhat connected, even if you're not fully translating it right yet, that chances are, they're leaning in on the energy that you're putting out. Yeah. Yay, validation. I feel somewhat dependent upon it, but maybe it's just security tendencies. It is fine to continue to ask for validation. You'll build it over time where you won't need it for certain things. I still ask for validation. I've been doing this my whole damn life. I'll still be like, wow, that was a really big ping, and I literally saw you as I talked to you about it. I'm going to need you to validate that for me though, because I still need to feel better. And that's fine. That's part of being a person. And I think that there's nothing wrong with that. I think a lot of times, especially like Western individualism has really made it feel like it's negative if we need that for the reassurance and validation, when it's super duper not, especially not in spiritual stuff. I mean, that's why people go to church, even in religious settings, right? Is to just get additional validation on the things that they believe. Any tips for animal communication? Yeah. Start with squirrels. I'm not even kidding. Start with squirrels. Squirrels are really fun to communicate with because they are constantly talking. Like they are just chattering. So tune into that with your whatever psychic senses are the strongest for you, of course. So literally like lean into the energy and be like, okay, squirrel, I see you there. What do you have to say? What is coming up right now? And just send a little bit of an open door energy. It doesn't even have to be a sentence. Just like open energy to see what the squirrel says and see what pops into your head. They are the easiest animal to start on because they don't think very deeply, but they do think all the time. Especially if you have ground squirrels, those are also exceptionally good. If you don't have access to squirrels, small things like pigeons are also really good to practice on. Oh, thank you for the heart. Pigeons are also really good to practice on. They also pretty much talk all the time. So that's another thing if you want to reach out to them. Of course, your personal pets, your personal animals are also good to talk to. They're already attuned to your energy. What I recommend for them is actually trying to think of something very simple, whether it's like a specific toy that you want them to go fetch, right? Think of a toy. Visualize that toy, feel that toy, really sense that energy, and then push that energy towards them, send that to them, and see if they do anything with it, or see if they look at you, see if sending that energy back and forth can start to make a thing. The reason you anchor it to like a toy or something of that notion is because it's a familiar energy to them, so it's more likely to catch their attention. That is a simple way to do it. Again, pay attention to your specific clair senses. If you don't know what they are, I have a free exercise to help you figure it out. But pay attention to those specific clair senses. Those are going to help you the most in understanding how the energy is being perceived. And you might need to practice a little bit with this, but your personal animals also work really good. If you have access to large animals, cattle, horses, they're incredible for practicing animal communication because they are so energetically sensitive. They sense energy in an entirely different way than most other animals do. If you have the ability to connect with them, I highly recommend that if you want to practice animal communication, but not everybody does. It's a little bit more accessible to have squirrels. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. How can I get to know my spiritual gifts more and deeper and know that is what it is? So first you want to figure out how exactly you pick up on those senses, like what senses you have. I've talked about clair senses a bunch, so not to harp on that more, but the senses are the way you perceive energetic information. I do have a free exercise in my bio if you want to check out how you do that. So there's that. Then the next thing is what excites you? What do you want to learn about with spirituality stuff? What do you want to dive into? Oftentimes our abilities align with what we want to explore because that's the thing that feels the most exciting. And it's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be playful. It's supposed to be exciting. Not without its challenges, of course, but it's supposed to be exciting and fun. So leaning in on that, ask yourself, like, do I really want to learn about tarot? Usually people are like, I want to learn about all of it. And don't get me wrong, I totally get that. But we're trying to figure out what feels the best to start out with, what feels the best and most exciting to explore right now. Is it, mediumship? Is it deity work? Is it talking to your spirit guides? Is it like a deeper sort of like, almost astral projection level meditation? Is it energy healing? There's a million different things that you can do with this, but you want to be excited to start out with. It's not so much about what am I most predisposed to, like what am I instantly going to be the best at. It's more about, I sense energy this way. How do I want to apply that? Now, the things that you naturally gravitate towards do typically correlate to the things you're going to be good at anyway, or have more connection with anyway. But occasionally it'll sneak up out of nowhere and be like, actually, you're really good at this thing over here. And that'll come in, but it doesn't have to be this like predestined, you're only good at this one thing. We're all psychic and you can all do all sorts of different things. So feel it out. It really, really helps that way. Strong knowing, that's that claircognizance popping off. Yeah. Is it normal to have strong gifts and then have them go dormant for a while? Absolutely. So totally, totally normal. There's multiple different ways that this can happen or reasons that this can happen. We are in an ebb and flow, right? So that is just how nature is in all parts of nature. That's why we have seasons and those types of things. Very much is because we are in an ebb and flow, and so is our magic. Oftentimes what happens too, so when we're born, essentially, we have a flowing magical river inside of us. Sometimes it might already have some damming up, some blockages in there, but it's flowing. As we live, we tend to chuck, we tend to chuck a lot of pollution, blocking things, plastic bags, beavers, whatever, you name it, into the river. And that is what essentially makes us feel dammed up. We feel disconnected from our magic again. We feel disconnected from our magic again because we need to unblock those things. We need to release those things and get them out of the river. This can be trauma. It can be limiting beliefs. It can be ancestral stuff that comes up. It can be, something one person said to you one time or an icky experience you had. Like, it's a million different things that can be. As we release that more, heal that more, both through mental health stuff, through natural block releasing, for doing energetic block work, all of those different things, that is where we really start to connect back to our gifts again. Also, sometimes our gifts go a little bit lower because we're like literally dealing with physical earth stuff and we don't need our magic at this moment. We need to focus on earth things. So it's an ebb and flow in that sense too. So absolutely, even if it's feeling like, it's dormant right now, that doesn't mean they're gone. It doesn't mean it's locked down. It doesn't mean you can't access them. You 100,000,000% can. It's okay to be in that ebb and flow. Also, this first half of the year has been heavy. Like if it's felt very specific to this first 6 months, it's been heavy energy that we've been existing underneath. It is totally and completely valid that you are sitting under this heavy energy and feeling like it is heavier to use magic because it's been rough. Thank you for the gummy bears. Because it's been more rough and heavier there, but you can absolutely wake up that dormant energy for sure. Really good question. Really good question. We're all in that ebb and flow. Catching up on this. Oh, you saw my video about the Egyptian Museum. So interesting. Thank you so much. Over on the YouTube, I do basically intuitive wandering videos where I take you with me as I walk through the Egyptian museums. It was the most recent one I did. I did the Great Pyramids a little bit. Next one I'm going to do is the Saqqara Pyramids, where I tell you about the spiritual energy of location, having been there, and like what the experience is there. So if you guys want to check that out on my YouTube, I'm doing a whole series of that. So I'm so glad you're fascinated by it. It was really cool. I really love the Egyptian museums, and doing channeled history stuff is my favorite. It truly, truly is. Yeah. Not today, Gab. Awesome. Well, fantastic. Thank you guys so much for being here. I do actually have to hop off. My husband and my younger daughter just got home from like an all weekend soccer tournament, and I need to go see how they're doing. Cause, thank you guys so much for being here. Oh, you said I'm a comfort to you. That's so sweet. Oh, hold on. I got to do the little matchy of the puzzle piece. There we go. Thank you guys. So sweet. You're so wonderful. This episode will be posted to the Alchemist Inkwell. You can listen to it on all the places that podcasts are. All the platforms podcasts are. My God, what is... Anyway, you can listen to it there. I would love for you to check that out. Also, for those of you who asked, I do have a mentorship program. It's called the Train With Me program. It is opening up for applications like literally later this week. So if you want to go ahead and check it out, just pay attention to my website. The applications are basically open anyway, so you can go check it out and see. But I would love to have that. It's a more advanced program, and we dive super deep into stuff. And anyone listening to the podcast, I'd love for you to come check that out too. It's just now launching. And if you want to go experience some intuitive wandering stuff with us, we do still have a couple spots open on our trip to Thailand this fall. And then we also have some spots open to our trip to Peru next spring, where we go and channel the different deities of these locations with you. And they're magical and so amazing. And some of you are going to see me in Iceland in like less than a month, and I'm so excited. Thank you all so much. You are absolutely magical as fuck. Go make some magic. I will see you all in the next live. Bye-bye. Maybe? Okay.